The reason why I don't encourage people to use pictures of them doing something crazy is because we know that's a one-time thing. So we'll talk about the pictures. We'll go through the 4 types of pictures, and hopefully this will be a good help to everyone that's setting up their profile or that has a profile that they want to refine a little bit.
Okay.
Like I said, we'll give you some examples here in a little bit. There are 4 types of pictures. The first is a good, clear profile photo. Very self-explanatory. I am never upset when it's a professional photo. I just took a picture of Pat at lunch because I got a great camera with a nice lens that was given to me by...
It was the best I've ever looked before.
Best, well, he's always looked that good. It just has been inaccurately transcribed before.
Okay,
Yeah, so we transcribed it with the Art of Photography today, and it looks great. And it would be a great Tinder photo because it shows good quality photo. It's very artistic. You look great in it. Problem solved, right? Banged it out in 10 seconds. You got a friend that's a photographer, knock it out, right? The second is the action shot. Now, it doesn't have to be action. You don't have to be like swinging from a bridge or something, but showing you doing something, okay? The third one is a picture of you and your friends or a picture of you and a girl having fun, out doing something or enjoying each other's company. And the fourth is a family picture or a picture of people that are important to you. And that's not necessary, but I've found that every time I've added it, I've gotten quite a bit of response. I think Tinder now, as we're speaking right now, has the ability to do like maybe Tinder or Clover. One of the apps has the ability to cycle your profile pictures and choose which is the one that works the best. And the one that always works the best for me is actually it's a picture of myself and my friend's mom, and we're walking in Hawaii. And that's the one they always end up setting to my profile picture. And I would have never have chosen that for a profile picture, but people always go, oh, that's the one, you know?
Oh,
so
wow.
There it is. So
I've always been told that that's actually a bad thing to do. Like,
why is that?
Like it should be showing it should be showing something like, oh, you're only with this person. Who is that person?
Yeah, but I mean, like that's, I think that you have to understand, like, people are going to wonder who that is. And especially women are going to look at it and go, is that your girlfriend or whatever? But if it's not, there's no reason for them to assume. And most of the time, if they want to know, a lot of times they'll just ask.
I see.
I think pictures of you by yourself are real bad. If you have pictures just of you by yourself, it's really bad because all it shows you is, like, all it shows somebody else is whether they're attractive or whether they're not attractive, right? So if you're very physically attractive, maybe girls are just going to go, oh yeah, he's super good looking every photo. That's fine, right? But if maybe you're a little bit chubbier than you used to be, like myself, then you got to play to your strengths. And when you're creating your strengths, you're really casting a wide net, right? So maybe you're representing that you're an adventurer. You're representing that you are close with your family. You're representing that you do cool things. You know? So I encourage that a lot. So let's talk about your good, clear profile photo, just like I was talking about. Well-dressed, straight on, clear shot, smiles really good. They release endorphins in you, but most importantly, they release endorphins in women as well. Don't try to look tough in your photo, as I have that one, right? We're laughing because I kind of look accidentally tough in my profile photo, but it's such a good photo that I kind of have to stick with it. But I always say don't try to look tough because most of the time, I have in my notes, it says the first rule of being cool, right? The first rule of being cool is don't try to be cool. And when guys try to look tough, oftentimes they just don't look tough. Because if you look at like the special forces guys or any guys that are really tough, when they look tough is when they're like coming off a chopper, right? But you're in like your backyard in front of like the marigolds, like trying to be like, look, I'm tough. So I encourage you to smile for the biological reasons, the chemical reasons, and just because, frankly, if you are trying to look tough, most of the time you're going to end up looking like you're trying to be tough, and there's nothing worse. Understand that the purpose for this photo, your first profile photo, is for her to say either, yes, I'm interested, or no, I'm not. She doesn't like black guys. You're a black guy. It doesn't matter if you're smiling, if you're looking tough. She's just going to go, so no big deal, right? Understand it. That's the way of the world, right? If you're really that upset about it, go out into the real world and talk to girls. Go and meet them. I always try to go for a classic look. An outfit that is too popular or too I don't want to say stylish, but fashionable can be very polarizing, right? So if you're like really, really, really rock and roll, maybe she's not into rock and roll dudes, so you get the left swipe, right? If you're really, really, really preppy, maybe she's not into preppy dudes, you get a left swipe, right? But if it's you in a white t-shirt, if it's you in a collared shirt with a tie or a blue jacket or a black jacket or whatever, like there you go, right? Problem solved. So you're going to hear this thing pop up over and over again, the concept of being polarizing, right? We don't want to be polarizing. We want to avoid being polarizing, meaning we don't want her to look at us and go yes or no. We want her to look at us and go, okay, maybe, yeah, right? Because that's going to get us more interactions than if she says no. The second is the action shot. The action shot, like I said, doesn't have to be an action shot. You don't have to be like in the middle of doing a fucking flip or something. But you want to be doing something and being entertained in some way and doing some sort of activity. It does not have to be crazy, okay? A lot of guys do something crazy, like hugging a lion or skydiving or something. The reason why I don't encourage people to use pictures of them doing something crazy is because we know that's a one-time thing, right? You went skydiving once. So when you put that picture up, she knows, oh, you went skydiving once. And then that was the moment in your life. Like that's what's important to you.
I see.
Right. I have a picture.
So like everyday things are better. Though.
Yeah. Like, or things that you do frequently, right? Like you on a yacht. I've got a picture, and I'm not sure if this is in the examples, but I've got a great picture on my profile now that my friend Alex took when we were in Barcelona. And I'm just like on a boat. I've got a camera around and I'm like drinking a Coors Light. You know, it's not me like, whoa, I'm in front of the Eiffel Tower that I went to once and now I don't have to travel anymore. Like, I'm like, yeah, we're on a boat. We're fucking chilling out. You know? Yeah, I'm on the beach. I'm doing something fun. I'm doing an activity. Beach, picnic, something accessible. Anything hard to do isn't something you're doing all the time, right? We don't want to show her that you've done exciting things. We want to show her that you do exciting things.
Ooh, got it. That's a great distinction.
Right? We want to show her that you are exciting. I don't ever post pictures that can be described as, hey, take a picture of me photos. Right?
See.
Candid photos, are you doing something fun or really good? But like me standing in front of the Coliseum, right? You look like a dick. You're like, oh, take a picture of me. Like, oh, here I am. I have been here is what that's saying.
Got it.
It's not saying like, oh yeah, we were doing a meeting and there happened to be the Statue of Liberty in the background or the Eiffel Tower or whatever it is, right? Because we don't want to, because like dating somebody or being somebody that's done something exciting doesn't really say anything about them other than they wanted to do something exciting at
one time,
right?
Got it.
Because even if, I mean, think about it, even if you have 4 photos where like one's in front of the Eiffel Tower and one's in front of Big Ben and then one's in front of, you know, like the Coliseum and then one's in Pamplona or whatever, that just like when I would see that, all I would be like is like, oh, that girl went on a Kon-Tiki tour. You know, she just took a bus and then went to all these different places and went, hey, take a picture of me in front of this thing. And that means nothing to me, right? That
sure.
3 years ago, and that's the highlight of her life. But like, oh, you at a fancy restaurant with your buddies, you know, your buddy sneaks a photo of you like in a fountain or at the beach, picnics, things like that. You lead an exciting life. A lot of people have almost interesting photos, which is a great when we talk about the hey, take a picture of me photos.
Sure.
Like that's like a pretty good way to say it's almost an interesting photo.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's no, we want interesting photos. We want interesting things. Yeah, we don't want almost interesting photos. This is a great example of why posting pictures of yourself on social media can be so tricky, right? It's one of those things where you're saying like, oh, look, I do this. See, everybody, look at me doing these things. I think I have an example, a picture of me at the Doris Duke estate, where we went to this Doris Duke estate in Hawaii wearing stupid outfits. And my buddy just snapped a photo of me like waiting for the tour to get going again, you know, and I'm chilling out. Whereas people could say, oh, that's a cool photo. It doesn't look like I'm anywhere cool. And they say, oh, that's a cool photo. Where was that? And say, oh, in Honolulu, Doris Duke basically left her mansion there and converted it into a museum of Islamic art. And my buddy and I, when we go to Hawaii every year, went and checked that out and we dressed up, and this was us waiting for the tour. think of all the DHVs that she hears from that, right? Oh, we go to Hawaii every year.
Yeah,
so
what's a
travel,
DHV?
a display of higher value, right? So if you go back into the old seduction stuff, the Western seduction stuff, or what I call additive seduction stuff, it's a thing, usually a story, that shows that you are of a male of higher value. Now, what this really means is that you do interesting shit, right? And that you can display that you do interesting things and that you have interesting or exciting mindsets. So when I say, oh yeah, well, that was us waiting for the tour, she knows I go to Hawaii, I travel with my friends. And when we're in Hawaii, we're not just going to like Duke's and getting wasted every night. We're going and doing interesting things. Oh, Islamic art museum, that kind of stuff. Like what girl doesn't want to at least meet up with a guy who goes to Hawaii every year and like checks out interesting museums and stuff.
So let's say the person that's listening to this right now, they're like, I don't live a very exciting life at all. Like I enjoy reading books. I like poetry. I like writing. I like playing board games. Like, does that apply to me, first of all? Like, what would you say to that?
Well, when we talk about, that's why I say like the action shot doesn't necessarily have to be an action shot, right?
Okay.
It can be something that you're passionate about, that is interesting to do. So do you write poetry? Do you have a lot of books? Where do you go write this poetry, right?
Okay.
Do you sit at your computer in a dark room? Or do you take a Moleskine out and go have a bottle of wine at a cafe in Montmartre? Or do you lay in the park with a blanket and your Edgar Allan Poe? Like, what is it that you do? Representing those things, right? So a lot of times when I get a question like that, a guy will be like, well, I don't really I really am passionate about video games, but like, I don't know. And it's kind of a cheap way out. Like, oh, do you go to tournaments? Do you play with your friends? Do you watch matches? No, I just sit at home and playing video games. Like, well, most of the time you're not passionate about video games. You're passionate about like not going outside of your comfort zone, So if you're creating poetry or hearing poetry or reading poetry, why aren't you going to poetry readings, right? Why aren't you going to these kind of things? And that's where you should be getting photos of like, oh, here's me on stage reading my poetry. Right. And if you're not doing stuff like that with your interests, you're not capitalizing on your interesting life. And then it comes back to not doing photo stuff, right? It's not about your photos. It's about you maximizing your interesting life, right? Because you can do anything.
Okay.
It's 2017.
I feel like that was a strong point right there. It's not about photos. It's about maximizing your interesting life. Yeah. And what we're doing is we're trying to find snippets of your great and interesting life to to show people. If you don't have snippets of your great and interesting life, it's because you're not leading a great and interesting life. And that's the first thing you got to get dialed down before you're on Tinder, right? Like, I see. I mean, there's definitely something to be said for fake it till you make it, have your buddy take a picture of you staring out the window, or have a good photo, or go to an event where there's going to be a photographer so that they can approach the photographers. Hey, will you take a picture of me? And maybe, people in LA are notorious for talking to girls for 5 minutes and then getting the photographer to take a picture of like that girl and them. Actually, on my profile photo is actually on one of my dating apps, and I'll show you, is actually a picture of me and a girl who I had met like maybe 10 minutes before, but we became really good friends. So I was like, oh, I'll just use that photo. She's super lovely. She's a lovely girl, and she's wonderful and interesting and very, very, very intelligent. But yeah. And that's a huge, huge takeaway, is you just got to lead an interesting life. Another point on the, hey, take a picture of me photos, right? And you guys all understand that the, hey, take a picture of me photo is like, you see something, you want to be photographed in front of it, and you go, hey, will you take a picture of me? And then you just kind of like, like when people if we ask the waiter and we're like, hey, will you take a picture of Pat and I? And we're like, hello. And it's like the shittiest picture ever. And you just look at it and go, I was where we were. I don't remember where we were, whatever. You got to understand that what we think is cool may also not be cool to her, right? So a great example is when I was talking about the Kon-Tiki tour. Like, a girl has a picture of herself in front of the Eiffel Tower. I've been to France like 5-6 times, right? I think the Eiffel Tower is amazing, but I think pictures of like me in front of the Eiffel Tower is like, okay, cool. Well, what were you doing there, right? Me, we're having a big picnic. We're drinking a bottle of wine. We brought a speaker. We got some sandwiches, and we're under the Eiffel Tower. That's interesting. Right? There we go.
And that's what we talk about, the almost interesting photo, right? So when I say what we think is cool may not be what she thinks is cool, understand that what we did could be tainted by the fact that we had fun doing it, right? So we took that snapshot of us in front of the Eiffel Tower, and then we had a crazy night because there was gypsies trying to get for it, and then we talked the Indian guy into selling us this beer for like way cheaper, and he stood with us for so long that he eventually just cheap, and that's why we had fun, right? But the picture might just be like me making a fucking stupid face in front of the Eiffel Tower, which is not like, who gives a fuck, right? She's not going to care. She's not going to feel good. We also have to understand that posting a snippet of a great memory might be just showing off. You might just be like, oh, see, you're not actually giving
That's trying to be cool.
Yeah, right trying to be cool, right? She might not have, or she probably won't have that experience of, she won't have that experience of really enjoying that stuff that you did. She just sees you going, here's me in front of this thing. Isn't that cool that I saw that thing? Like, and that thing is not what's trying to get laid, right? You're trying to meet girls. You're trying to interact with her. So think of examples of like bad and good photos, whereas like the bad one is like, this is me in front of the Eiffel Tower versus, right, like we talked about, this is eating lunch at that gorgeous cafe we loved that happened to be 3 minutes from the Eiffel Tower, or that you can see the Eiffel Tower like here, right? Like Pat's book right here. What's the name of your book? Talk about your book.
Yeah, that's a book right there. The Art of Wooing right there.
Art of Wooing and the Art of the Playboy. Look, it looks like I'm holding it. Why did you make your book so tiny, Pat?
Yeah, just for your fingers. I can't
read this.
Just for your fingers.
I can't. This is
you gotta flip the page.
It's too small for.
Shoot, I got really small pages that time. I'm gonna go fix that.
It's not actually small. It's far away. It's a depth of field trick. The other picture that guys tend to overuse is, don't read my notes. You can't see them. The other picture that guys tend to use is the out at the club drinking photos. All that does is show off that you go to clubs with your friends. Okay. It can be used if you don't have anything else, really. And that's something that we do fairly frequently. Like we go out with our friends and stuff. But understand that it does not show anything. Like it doesn't convey to her anything except for that you've been at a club drinking with your friends, which everybody has. And if you haven't, go out and fucking do it once, and then you can come back and watch this segment again, and you can like belly laugh about everybody else, right? These pictures are really bad because A, everybody goes to bars, right? And B, it immediately disqualifies girls that don't want to hang out at bars. That think like, I had a picture of me like out with friends at a club one time, and a girl was like, "Is all you do go to clubs?" And I was like, there's only one picture of me at a club. What are you talking about? But it's super like it's a super obvious picture. Now you can put them out there, but understand that it's a friend picture, right? This is a picture of you and your friends that we'll talk about in a second. It's not a picture of an action that you're doing, of an exciting event. So when you think about your action pictures, look to represent something in your life that's interesting, that's fun, that's exciting, that shows that you do those things. The next type of picture, the third type of picture, is a picture of you with your friends. And that's okay to do a drinking out with your buddies drinking thing.
That's the third picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's totally fine to go out with your buddies and go and hang out. In fact, it's usually where most pictures are found. But we want to limit it to one, and we want to make sure that it's not the like the action photo, that we're not trying to convey that that's the fun thing that we do. Friends pictures, one or two of your exciting of pictures of you and your friends obviously having fun. Always shoot to include a picture of an attractive girl, maybe you and an attractive girl, or attractive girls in your pictures. Obviously, this is like there are great benefits to showing you that you hang out.
So I was kind of curious about this one, because would it be then showing off to that you're hanging out with attractive women? Like,
well, I mean, it is showing off, but the fact that you're hanging out, if you're like, yes, then you look like a dick. But if you're out with attractive women, which, obviously if you subscribe to your methods and the things that I've been teaching and a lot of other people, you're just going to be with attractive women. And eventually it's going to be really hard to find a picture of you, like you and your buddies, because there will always be attractive women around. So it's only showing off if you're out there. Like, so think about it like this. If somebody asks you, who's that girl in your picture? And your answer is, oh, I just met her at a club. We took a picture together. Then you're showing off. Right? If you're like, oh, that's my buddy Donna, we've known each other for 10 years. She's a stylist and she's super amazing. That's life.
Got it. So for the woman, she might be thinking like, who is that girl? Like, is that his boyfriend?
Yeah,
like,
maybe,
do you want that, or does it really matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you're, I always recommend to make it so that you don't look like you're in love. Like you're not like dipping the girl or trying to kiss her or nuzzling or something like that. But if she wonders if it's your boyfriend or if it's your girlfriend or if it's your whatever, like that's on her. You know.
I see. Okay.
I think that would be a high level red flag of women that you don't want to spend time with. You know, because women do want men that have other women in their lives. That's what you want to do. You know, that's the whole purpose. Nobody wants to date guys that don't have women in their lives. When you're considering your pictures with girls, like I said, make sure it's not romantic. You don't want to appear like you're on a date because then that's when you're showing off, right? Avoid pictures of you romantically looking at her, romantically looking at you. You like instantly put off the vibe that you're a player, right? You instantly put off that vibe that you're trying to say, look at how romantic I can be with her. I can be that with you. Where in actuality, you want to say, I can make women feel comfortable. Because that's what she wants. She wants to feel comfortable because she doesn't know if she wants to fuck you yet. It doesn't work. She's not looking at your photos going, I will fuck that guy. And that's a lot of like people mistakenly think that. Doubling up always helps. If you put one picture of you and a girl, she could think, But if you put two, she can say, oh, he has girlfriends and makes women feel comfortable and that kind of stuff, which is very, very important. I try to include women
that just look comfortable in more than one photo.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So I try to include at least one picture of me and a girl, and then me with some friends and other girls involved in that photo as well.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But I've also had great success with just me and another girl and a couple pictures like that. And I'll show you in a little bit when we do that. The best way to ask yourself what is acceptable in kind of tangible terms is like if you came across a girl's picture, like a girl's profile, and it had that picture of you and her on it, what would you think? Would you think like, oh, like they're definitely a couple, or would you think like, I don't know how they know each other or anything like that? And it's a pretty good test. Big groups of attractive, well-dressed people all having fun can be useful, but make sure it will go at the end. I fucking hate when people have to search through. Like you get a girl's profile and there's like 10 people in the first one, and I automatically know if I have to search for which one she is, she's going to be the ugly one. Like I just know that, you know. So then I'll swipe, and then it'll be like, you know, 3 people, and then I'll swipe, and it'll be like 2 people, one of whom is very ugly, and I'm like, I know which one it is. Boom, Mariah is the fat one, you know, and that's so skip that. Don't make her do any of the work. Like I said, we're trying to cast a big net. Keep it chill, keep it easy. So the next thing that we want to talk about is the order of the pictures, right? Now, this doesn't really matter a ton, but it's definitely something worth considering. You want to consider what order she is viewing the pictures in and what she's going to be thinking when she sees them, right? Think about it like a ride. Picture number 1, which is the clear picture of you, should be first, obviously. This is going to give her the yes or no option, right? Whether she likes you or whether she doesn't, whether it gets you on board. If she doesn't like what you look like, a picture of you and a dog or you doing something at the beach isn't going to change that, and that's just the way it is.
And how long do you think she's looking at these photos for?
Oh, God, doesn't matter. If you don't like the way that you look dressed, like I said, in a clear, well taken picture, you got to fix that shit. If it's skincare, if it's weight loss, if it's a style upgrade, you just got to go and fix that, you know. To vary the journey for her, usually I tend to put a friend's picture, maybe with a big group, and then an action picture, and then another picture maybe with me and a girl. Right now, I'm using the clear profile picture as the first picture, and then a picture of me and a girl right away to kind of rope her in and say, oh, okay, pre-selected by women, and then picture of me and friends, and then maybe a picture of myself and another girl, and then a family picture. I always try to put the family pictures as the end as kind of a it's kind of like the sealing the deal. Like if she has made it all the way to the end of your photos, then that one's really gonna go. Yeah, and by the way, but yeah, exactly. By the way,
he's sweet too.
Yeah. You know, we talk about some things like, should I get a professional photographer, things like these. These are things I go into in the lecture, like a little bit more in depth. But for right now, try to stick to that. You know, find some good photos, go through them, set them organized to all of these principles, and vet yourself. I mean, ask yourself if if that's really how you want it to be. Like, is this really like, are these like kind of set my philosophies against your profile and see if they work out, right? See if they become clear to you, and then try it for a little bit. So you've got your pictures set up. You got 4 or 5 good pictures. You got your profile picture, your action picture, your favorite friend's picture, and your family picture. You got those all set up. The only other thing that you need to worry about setting up your profile, presuming you're doing all of your age and date stuff, is your tagline or your bio or your profile line, whatever it is that they refer to it as, right? It varies per dating site or dating app or whatever, but it's basically the line or the information that you can put about yourself. Okay. So like I said, in the second Udemy program that I have, Udemy class that I have, we talk about your tagline. And at the beginning of that program, we talk about all the kind of philosophy of Tinder and those kind of things, setting up your profile photo in the most basic sense. And then we get into what is your tagline. And your tagline, there are 2 main rules of the Tinder tagline. Okay. Number 1 is don't leave it blank. A lot of guys go, oh, I don't know what to write, I'll just leave it blank. And that's a really super bad idea.
I think I have a blank one right now.
Yep. Okay. Super bad idea.
Yeah.
A, she's going to think you're fake, or that you're not putting enough effort into it. That happens quite often. And it's not enough information to make her want to swipe. So maybe if you're super good looking, she'll just go, yeah, whatever. Like we do that with girls too. But if you don't have anything and you're not super good looking, she kind of goes, what the hell is this? And avoids that, i.e. kind of like you look like you're hiding something, right? And the second main rule is don't try to sell yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about this at the beginning. Super, super important. Yeah. First rule of being cooler, right? Number 1, first of all, selling yourself can highlight the wrong selling points, right? It can highlight things that you think are important that are not important or even turn-offs for her, right? Super adventurer, I love drinking. Oh, I don't want a guy that loves drinking, right?
Yeah.
Selling yourself on the wrong points. Number 2, you don't want to seem like you need to sell yourself. It's a bit of that kind of argument where it's like, you know, the people that want to sell themselves shouldn't be selling themselves, and the people that don't need to sell themselves don't have to try to sell themselves, right? Like how often does Leonardo DiCaprio tell models about like all the cool things he's done to try to get them to like him, right?
Sure. That makes sense.
Doesn't happen. Just simply doesn't happen. Number 3, selling yourself can create that polarizing make or break that we talk about a lot throughout all these programs on Udemy, right? Where you're setting up the make or break, you're setting up the polarizing thing, right? Love cats. Well, I'm more of a dog person, left swipe, right? Love dogs. Well, I'm more of a cat person, left swipe.
Yeah.
Love animals. Oh, that's I'm not really into that, left swipe.
Yeah.
Right? So what the hell, like what is a make or break, right? We talked about
that's actually one of those things. I actually don't like animals that much. So
right?
I'm like, oh, she likes animals. I see a dog. Oh.
When I lived in Austin, Texas, everybody was crazy about dogs, and girls that were not very good at dating would talk about how much they love their animals.
Okay.
And it was like a really good way to identify like kind of a red flag is when girls are like, I'm the mom of 2 beautiful puppies. And you're like, oh, great. Like I'm super, like they'll be like, there's nothing more important to me than my babies. And you're like, yeah, babies. And they're like, oh, my dogs. Like, oh, okay, well, you're fucking nuts. Like get out there and go hang out with people, you know, like it's cool that you have a dog, but like Jesus.
Yeah.
So what is a make or break? Let's speak specifically about a make or break. A make or break, it can be one of the most dangerous things that you can have on a profile, because like we were talking about, like maybe your profile, you say athlete, 9 feet tall, love cats, right? It's the same thing. She's going to go, oh, I hate cats, left swipe. Or it can also be, I love cats, right swipe, but you're also eliminating all the girls that don't love cats or the people that don't care about animals or don't, like we just talked about, don't want to have somebody obsessed with animals in their lives. Right? We don't want to sell girls on things because the population of likes cats versus doesn't like cats, or likes white wine versus doesn't like wine, or likes sports versus doesn't like sports, is always divided. And we want to cast a large net, right? It's like likes fun. Like we were joking, my friend Keith and I were joking about this last night. Girls are like, oh, I love fun. Or it's like, oh, of course you love fun. Like who doesn't love fun, you know?
Yeah. There's a song that says that girls like fun. I already know that.
Yeah. There you go. That's exactly what it is, right? So we're going to avoid polarizing personality elements because we're working towards the match, right? When we talk about working towards the match, there are 2 elements. Online dating apps have basically these 2 elements, which are active and passive. Okay. Passive is all the stuff on your profile. You set it up, you let it run. You don't have to do anything, right? Passive income. Active is all the seduction that you're actually going to have to do. What we want to do is create passive to such a degree that the amount of active work that we have to do is very little. We can have a small conversation. We can use a typical opener, and then that'll move towards the number very easily. In programs 3 and 4, when we talk about the opener and getting the number, we've created a profile that's very effective so that we don't have to do much work. I don't like to do like funny openers or openers that are crazy and edgy that are defined by information I get from her profile, because then I got to look at every profile. I got to evaluate. I got to think of something clever. And if I'm not good at thinking of something clever in the first place, I'm fucked on all accounts, right?
Wait, so you don't want to even look at something clever then?
I don't even need to. Why would I need to, right? Because what's the oldest pickup line in the book? Hi. Why does it still work? Still relevant, right? So we get into openers in those programs. We get into getting the numbers in those programs. But the purpose is that we want active versus passive, and to understand the active and passive elements, the passive element being your profile, the active element being exactly what it is that you're saying to these women, right? When we talk about working towards the match, we mean that we are designing our profile passive so that we can get as many opportunities to seduce, which is the active work, as possible. You may really like hunting, but you know that it can eliminate many matches. So we're trying to like leave that stuff out. So we're not trying to like take ourselves out on the girl, which is what I've said before, right? So one, we want to make the profiles as swipe friendly as possible, casting a large net. 2, eliminating polarizing elements, which are the make or break elements, and then eliminating confusing elements and putting our best foot forward. That's why I say, listen, clean, well-dressed, good, clear photo shot. You don't want people going, oh, I can't see which one she is or he is, right? I look, because I think about profile. Like I'll go on a Tinder profile and like, I'll be like, I can't see the girl's face clearly. And I'm like, oh, that means she's ugly. Like, see you later, right? Left swipe immediately. So what the hell do we do, right? What do we do if it's Gareth, if I'm not trying to sell myself, if I'm not trying to tell anybody about me, what do I even put there, right? There are, basically one of the things that I do is I will put a conversation point into my profile, right? So it's not going to be like in a tagline, it's not going to be like something that's so like a question, who likes more women or men? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put something in my tagline to be a conversation point, which is almost like peacocking, right? Peacocking, for those of you that don't know, is wearing something that gives a woman an excuse to talk to you. Earlier, I had that example of me dressed really well and the girl coming over and going, oh, you're dressed too formally. She didn't really think I was dressed too formally. She was thinking, this is an excuse to talk to me, right?
Got it.
So I can put something in my profile that's an excuse to talk to me, right? It's not a conversation starter per se, because the only women that are basically going to message you are like the fat ones, or the ones that aren't getting any matches, or the ones that like really just want to get laid. For example, a girl that can't have an orgasm on her own, that like wants to just get laid and do that. I'll create a conversation point. Things about the conversation point that you got to understand: the shorter, the better, right?
Okay.
To a reasonable degree. Don't just put a period and be done with it.
Or hi, period.
The less she has to read, the less chances that A, you're going to fuck up, or B, you're going to say too much, right? Standard, keep it simple, stupid stuff in Tinder profiles to make it a make or break situation. So here are some examples that I have used that will lead to essentially the concept of a non sequitur, okay? So what is a non sequitur? A non sequitur is something that isn't related to anything at all. And that's my favorite Tinder tagline. So, quote, actor turned musician turned writer turned world traveler. That was what I had originally at the very beginning. I got moderate results, and no women ever referenced it in conversation. I realized it wasn't as successful as it could be once I modified it by adding, by the way, I'm a dating coach, right? The cool thing about that was that I got a ton of responses, but girls only wanted to talk about me being a dating coach.
Yeah.
Right? So then I changed it to, yes, I'm a dating coach. No, I don't want to talk about it, which was very funny. Still got a lot of initial messages from girls, but they still only wanted to talk about it. Right. So I realized I had to change it. And then I changed it to, I was sitting with my buddy and I was bragging, or I wasn't bragging. I was joking because my dad had dug well for our house that I grew up in. And at the time it was the deepest well in Essex County. And it was just a sentence that came out. We all had a laugh that was a very stupid sentence. So I made my Tinder tagline, deepest well in Essex County, which doesn't mean anything. It's so silly. And I got a ton of responses.
Oh, really?
Like, totally,
oh, wow.
Totally a ton of responses. You might be thinking that's weird and it's not interesting, which is precisely why I put it, right? Because it's ridiculous to include on a dating profile. And that's the beginning of when I realized non sequiturs were there, because that's the best example of not selling yourself, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell myself.
And can you give us another example of one of those?
Absolutely. Surprisingly good at math.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Boom, surprisingly good at math. Really funny. The one that I used for a while was okay, period, sorry, period, be there in 15. Right? Like how many, like I just sent that text and I was like, that's like the funniest text I could have possibly put on there. So so I shrunk it up, put it on the profile, and it worked really well.
I see. Okay. That makes sense.
Cool. That's what when it comes down to being different, when we say a little bit more of a conversation point rather than a conversation starter, a display that I'm different. Basically, you're going to have to set yourself apart from everybody that has any kind of interaction like that, right? Any kind of time you're creating a dating profile, you understand that everybody that you're going to want to meet with is always going to want to meet with everybody else, or everybody else is going to want to meet with them too. So you really have to take effort and try to set yourself apart in that way, right? Every hot girl is going to match with every guy. So you've got to be different. So just really briefly, let's go through the main important points. Number one, don't be make or break, right? Especially anything we were talking about. Pictures,
nothing controversial.
Nothing controversial. Yeah, great word. Number two, make yourself a tagline. If you don't have a tagline, you're uncreative. If you have one that's about you, you're trying to sell yourself. And first rule, cool. First rule is sexy, right? Don't try to be cool. Don't try to be sexy. Don't try to sell yourself. Make your tagline a non sequitur. Pick something, use one of mine, doesn't matter. Find something in a newspaper. Pick a sentence that's your favorite. It doesn't matter. It's hilarious, right? Number four, make your tagline a conversation point. Don't try to make a conversation starter. And number five, keep it short. I try to make my tagline something that strikes me that people can talk about, right? No models is a great one. And the models are going to message you being like, why no models? You know, that kind of thing. Remember that guys look for the right line. It's not about doing the wrong things. You're already good. You've already got like the good parts. We don't need to confuse it by adding to it, right? So I think with all that information, you understand how to pick your 4 or 5 profile photos. You understand what kind of order to put them in. And you understand how to decorate your profile with that information that can lead to at least a couple conversation starters. So that's a pretty good summary of the first 2 programs. The last 2 they get a bit more in depth. I mean, everything gets a bit more in depth. The last 2 is talking about opening lines, and then talking about how to get that number once you're actually making matches on those programs. So like I said with Pat, I will give out a coupon code, and you can go and plug it all into the internet and hook your dudes up, and hopefully we'll see some results.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gareth. That was amazing stuff. I didn't know it can get to even that technical, but now we know the psychology of it. We know how we've seen examples of it. And if you guys want more information of Gareth and his other programs on Udemy, here's the link right there. I'm going to put it down there so you can click on that and go to that link. And there's going to be a code right there also, so you can so that you can get the best deal out of it and continue on with meeting women online. So thank you so much, Gareth, for this amazing tutorial.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys all later. I'm going to flip the first page.
Didn't work.
The other way. There we go.